Alright, hello YouTube, Mucklick Douglas Bartholomew Reginald Esquire the 4th here. It is August the 13th, Friday the 13th, and we just watched the almost 90-minute long presentation from Guild Wars 2 on the live Twitch chat, where they presented the full class, skills, traits, specialization, all the stuff for the Harbinger, the Willbender, and the Virtuoso. And now the Virtuoso we already had a lot of information on, but they have given us all of the traits as such as well. So this is the balance update preview for August 17th. That is this coming Tuesday. That is the exact same day that we are going to be allowed to try the 3 new elite specializations, if you wish to do so. If you've got full character slots on your account, don't worry. They'll give you 3 more character slots that you can use temporarily for the testing, and you can try out all the new things if you wish to do so. And these are the patch notes that are going to hit the existing classes on the same day. Profession skills, combo fields, and finisher skills. Combo fields have received updated higher quality visual effects. Rectangular combo fields do not yet have updated visuals, but they will be updated to match in a future update. Okay. Combo finishers will now prioritize using your own combo fields. Oh my god, that is huge. Before those created by other players when available. That means that heal scrappers can now keep higher stacks of might on their group. For those of you that don't know, just to use the example that is coming to me off the top of my head, Heal Scrapper can use a Blast Gyro to generate a Blast Field, do a bunch of combos in it to emit stacks of might, 3 stacks of might per combo. But if other people around you are doing combo fields, you can't do it. It's unreliable. This is really big. You know, thieves trying to do combo fields and poison for bonus damage, they could get it ruined by accidentally using the healer's water field, which then heals them, but if they're at 100% health, nothing happens. So this is cool. That's awesome. The icon border for skills that are combo finishers will now be highlighted while you're standing within a combo field. That's not going to affect experienced players. That's fantastic for new ones. I like that. Projectile finisher water field. The radius around the struck enemy in which allies gain regeneration has been increased from 100 to 180. Cool. Projectile finisher light field. The radius around the struck enemy in which allies are cleansed of a condition has been increased from 100 to 180. Cool. Boons and conditions. In this update, we're making adjustments to the confusion condition in PvE. Currently, it's not strongly relevant in most gameplay, as few enemies attack rapidly enough for it to be a significant damage source. However, it's also exceedingly powerful on a few specific boss fights. Twin Largos, in raids and elsewhere, which happen to have attack patterns that trigger confusion often. This has been a problem to balance around. It's not much fun if being very good in specific raid fights means that confusion-heavy specializations like Mirage aren't up to par elsewhere. I gotta say, there are a lot of builds I have pity for right now. Mirage is not one of them. To address this, we're partially normalizing the confusion condition by making the damage over time component of confusion in PvE gameplay scale with the condition damage stat, making it overall more useful for general open world and mission play. Each stack of confusion will be exactly half as powerful as a stack of the bleed condition. At the same time, we're halving the trigger damage dealt when an enemy activates the skill. Overall, these changes mean that confusion will be a more reliable source of damage during play for professions that make regular use of it, and they reduce the degree to which it is split in functionality between PvE and PvP. Okay. Confusion in PvE only, the damage over time caused by each stack of confusion has been increased from a flat 10 at level 80 to 11 plus 0.03 per point of condition damage. Damage dealt to all targets when they activate a skill has been reduced by 50%, matching the current damage in PvP and World v. World game modes. Very interesting. I look forward to seeing what effect that has. Elementalist, Weaver. Weaver has impressive damage potential in PvE, but as many Weaver mains have noted, it's often reliant on assistance from other players to maintain the necessary weakness condition on their targets, and their fragility leaves little room for mistakes in play. With this update, we're making 2 PvE-specific changes. Improving the Weaver's ability to upkeep weakness on their targets via superior elements, and increasing the Weaver's personal sustainability by increasing the amount of barrier granted by elemental Refreshment. Oh god, PvE change. Oh, dude. For a second there, my heart just tightened in my chest. I was like, they're increasing barrier because PvP, and then I was like, wait, this is PvE. Okay, that's fine. Superior elements. Increase the duration of applied weakness from 3 to 5 seconds in PvE only. Elemental refreshment. The total amount of barrier granted by this trait has the increase per point of healing power has been increased by 20% in PvE only. Okay. Engineer Scrapper. We're pleased with how Scrapper's build options have been expanded recently. Now that the dust has settled a bit, it's time for some more boons. With this update, we're adding extra concentration to Quickness Scrapper builds to improve their flexibility and quickness uptime while retaining more damage. And we're providing a larger direct damage enhancement to the dedicated power builds in the trait Applied Force. Kinetic accelerators. This trait will now additionally increase your concentration by 10% of your power. Okay, so there's two types of engineers that give quickness, the healing ones and the damage ones. This is obviously aimed at making the damage ones more useful. The healing one, while it could use some fine-tuning in various departments, it's fully functional. It is a fully functional build and it works. The damage one, the problem is it gives quickness and it does damage, but condition Firebrand gives quickness and does more damage, and also has a lot of other crazy utility. So Damage Scrapper was in a really weird place. So this is clearly them aiming at trying to help with that. Applied Force. Bonus power per stack of Might has been increased from 10 to 15. Might now provides reduced condition damage by the same amount. Result, plus 45 power, plus 15 condition damage per stack of Might. Okay, so everything here for Scrapper is aimed at the damage-dealing variant of Quickness Scrapper. I look forward to seeing if it works out. Hollowsmith. Players can now use the Mount key while in Photon Forge. Doing so will automatically deactivate Photon Forge. That is a small quality of life for open world. That's cool. Mounting will no longer reset your heat to 0. It shouldn't. Changing specializations away from, then back to Hollowsmith will retain your former Photon Forge heat level. Okay, sounds like someone was trying to do some gimmicky stuff and they're putting a stop to that. I wasn't aware of that. With Scourge getting toned down in PvP, whoa! What? Whoa, I look forward to reading this section. Okay, let's hurry up with the Hollow. I don't care about it, really. Alright, where were we? With Scourge getting toned down in PvP, we're also taking a look at Protection Hollowsmith builds. Elixir Gun and Mortar Kit have been staples in a tank-like engineer build for a long time and are both things that we're keeping an eye on, but we want to see the impact of shaving down a few Hollowsmith-specific elements as well as Overshield, before touching anything else. Heat Therapy, reduce the base heal per stack from 39 to 30 in PvP. Okay, all these are PvP only. Hardlight Arena, increased cooldown from 50 seconds to 60. Spectrum Shield, reduced incoming damage reduction from 50 down to 33. Overshield, reduced protection duration from 3 to 2. Alright, so clearly all of these are aimed at making Hollowsmiths less unkillable for the amount of time that they were very, very hard to take down. Now, Hollowsmith as a class has really, really high mobility also. So if they get in a situation where they're like, oh crap, my defenses are running out, they can often move on if they need to do so. I don't think any of this is going to hurt Hollowsmith as a class in a huge way because they're strong in so many other ways. This is just going to reduce the amount of time that they are insanely hard to take down. Guardian. Retreat. That's one of their shouts. Guardians never retreat, so this shout skill has been named Advanced. Shut up! The voice acting has been updated appropriately to say either advance or charge at random for a little variety. I hate you guys. Radiance. Renewed Justice. Fixed a bug that could cause this trait to fail to activate when killing enemies in certain types or locations. This is such like an April 1st type of patch note. For that to be in here in the middle of all this is fantastic. Firebrand fixed a bug in which players could rarely become stuck in a tome with 0 pages remaining, causing players to need to reactivate the tome or use the weapon swap key to exit. Now, in the rare cases where this occurs, attempting to use any tome page skill will exit the tome rather than failing to do anything. Okay, I wasn't aware of that bug. That's cool. Unrelenting Criticism fixed a tooltip display bug that caused the PvP duration of bleed to also display in the tooltip of PvE, showing 2 different bleed durations. The effect of the trait is unchanged. Okay, so just a display issue. Mesmer, Illusion of Life. Fixed it. Hold on a sec, I gotta channel CMC here. Alright. Fixed a bug that could cause affected allies to fail to be fully revived when killing enemies in certain content types or locations. Medic's Feedback reduced the revive pulse from 5 to 1. I believe Medic's Feedback, hang on a sec, isn't that the thing that makes like the big purple dome and it revives people super fast? I think up until this moment that was still the yeah, this is the revive dome. This was the ability that was the strongest revive skill remaining in PvP until now. Like, not only was it a dummy thick revive, it also blocked enemy projectiles. So, depending on the enemy, like a ranger with a longbow, they couldn't use the knockback to interrupt the revive. You know, it was things like that. So, now, Mesmers that don't already know, they've already given this treatment to many other skills. There are many other skills, Tempest, sorry, not Tempest, but just Elementalist, their Geyser, the revive has already been nerfed like this long ago. Honestly, this is just kind of catching up. This should have been done before. Necromancer, oh boy, chat, we've got a thesis. Death Shroud. Players may now use the mount key while in Shroud. It will also automatically deactivate Shroud. Okay, open world quality of life. I like it. Curses. Furious Demise. Fixed a bug that caused precision granted by this trait to not be used for bonus condition damage by the next minor curses trait, Target the Weak. Okay. Target the Weak, the description of this trait has been corrected to include that it also increases the Necromancer's condition damage by a percentage of their precision. Okay, so nothing's changing there. It's just a text fix. So Lingering Curses. The bonus condition damage granted by this trait now applies with any weapon, not only Scepter. Now, swapping over to the live game for a second here. Curses, the Lingering Curse skill, gives you plus 200 condition damage. So if you take this trait, I guess that now affects like staff as well if you wish to use it in that way. Death Magic. Death Nova fixed a bug that could cause this trait to fail to properly summon a Jagged Horror when killing enemies in certain content types or locations. Soul Comprehensions fixed a bug that could cause this trait to fail to properly grant a stack of carapace when killing enemies in certain content types or locations. Flesh of the Master reduced minion health bonus from 25% to 15% in PvP only. This trait is the only trait in the entire Necromancer kit that is gives you a way to increase your minions' health pool, because minions do not scale. So that means that the Minion Mancers in PvP, their minions will be a little less burly. Soul Reaping Doomfire fixed a bug that could cause this trait to activate multiple times without triggering its internal cooldown when used with Scourge specialization skills. So Doomfire is a trait that I can show you on the live server. What it does is it makes your Shroud 1 inflict burning on the target. Now, for Scourge, that's unique because their Shroud 1 is Manifest Sandshade. And I wasn't aware of this bug, but apparently it was triggered. It's supposed to have a 1 second cooldown. Apparently it's been happening more than that. For Core Necro or Reaper, it's just the auto attacks. The 1 key when they're in Shroud will trigger the burn. Spite. Dread fixed a bug that could cause this trait to fail to properly reduce the cooldown on Shroud Skill 3 when killing enemies in certain content types or locations. Okay, so it sounds like there was a lot of skills that were proc on kill that weren't happening. Reaper Shroud. Reapers can now mount while in Reaper Shroud and it will kick you out of Shroud. Okay, so it's just like the other stuff. Scourge. Are you ready? As the community has observed, Scourge has quickly become dominant in many game modes, from PvP to PvE. They should have just said all game modes. In PvE, the barrier granted by damage specialized Scourges to nearby allies as part of their normal damage rotation has caused Scourge to provide overwhelming support, even while traded and geared as a pure DPS build. We would like a clearer distinction between Scourge's supports and damage builds. To this end, we're making a change to the Scourge's healing skill, Sand Flare, so that it only grants barrier to the caster by default. Really quickly, going in game, here, this is Sand Flare. It pumps out barrier and healing and converts conditions into, converts a boon on nearby enemies into conditions. So this is going, it was 6,500 barrier, now it's going to be self-only. Now, that looked like a small barrier on me, but I've got 34,000 hit points, but it was a 6,500 barrier if you had some healing power. Abrasive Grit. This trait has been reworked to the following. Sand Flare now also grants barrier to nearby allies. Granting an ally barrier will removes conditions afflicting them. What it used to do was remove a condition and give them might. They took the might away. You skipped some of the wall of text. Oh, thank you. Sorry, hang on a sec. The first tier support trait, Abrasive Grit, was previously very underwhelming, especially when compared against its chief competitor in that tier, Fell Beacon. Abrasive Grit will now cause Sand Flare to affect nearby allies, restoring to its previous target cap. With these changes, we're shifting some of the Scourge's passive barrier-granting ability off of the damage-specialized Scourge build and onto builds that have specifically chosen to trait for support. Sand Flare barrier granted by the skill now only affects the caster by default. Abrasive Grit, the trait, has been reworked to the following. Sand Flare now also grants barrier to nearby allies. Granting an ally barrier removes condies afflicting them. Okay. So, currently, Abrasive Grit is granting an ally barrier, removes conditions, and grants might. And now it's Sand Flare now also grants barrier to allies. So now you would have to take Abrasive Grit for your heal skill to give them barrier. However, either they didn't mention it in the notes, or they are removing the fact that this gives might. They might be removing the might from it. I do not know. Demonic Lore. Fixed a bug that caused the internal cooldown of this trait to not occur under certain circumstances. Alright, it's just a bug fix. Herald of Sorrow. This trait now renames the skill Desert Shroud to Sandstorm Shroud instead of to Harbinger Shroud. We kind of thought that would happen because the new Harbinger is getting Harbinger Shroud, and yet there is a skill in-game already called Harbinger Shroud, so Harbingers with Harbinger Shroud won't have Harbinger Shroud. But now they will. On the PvP side of things, we're making some additional changes to bring Scourge down. Feed from Corruption is a trait that we've been looking at for a while, and given the continued performance of Scourge, it's something we wanted to make sure to touch in this round of changes. For this update, we're primarily targeting the defensive boons as we look to address some of the Scourge's overall bulk, but we also wanted to tone down the might generation that this trait could potentially create. We also shaving down some of the Scourge's barrier applications and Nefarious Favor, with the overall goal of making the Scourge just a bit more killable. Sand Cascade, barrier nerf, 2400 to 1800 in PvP. Desert Shroud from 5k to 4k barrier in PvP. Desert Empowerment from 966 to 773 base barrier in PvP. Sandstorm Shroud from reduced additional base barrier from 5k to 4k in PvP. Reduced final base barrier from 1600 to 1300 in PvP. Feed from Corruption. The following boon applications from this trait have been adjusted in PvP only. Might, reduced stacks from 3 to 1. Prot and Resolution, half duration. Regeneration, half duration. Stability, 2 stacks for 5. Reduced from 2 stacks over 5 to 1 stack over 3. Vigor, half duration. Nefarious Favor. Reduce the number of conditions converted to boons from 2 to 1. That matches a lot of other stuff. For example, Axe 3. In PvE, it converts 2 boons to conditions in the area, and it only does 1 in PvP. So that actually matches many other skills that they've changed. Ranger. Fixed a bug in which a stowed pet would be unstowed when entering or leaving water. Nice. This is really annoying in PvE. Actually, I don't even know if this fixes the thing I'm about to talk about. In World versus World, if you're a soul beast and you're merged with your pet, and then you go underwater, your land pet should be swapped for a water pet. And what happens is you go from like merged with a bird to not merged with a stowed shark. It's really weird. And then like you get out of the water and your pet's just broken until you merge and unmerge again, which doing that takes 10 seconds. And so if you get into a fight really quickly, it's just like you don't even have like F1 through F5 anymore. I don't know if this fixes what I'm thinking of, but okay, good, that's fine. Fixed a bug in which the pet would be stowed after mounting a skimmer on water, then dismounting on land. I never saw that. Fixed a bug in which the pet would be stowed when mounting a flying mount after gliding. Maul fixed a bug in which the skill would go on full cooldown when interrupted. Druid, Celestial Avatar. Players can now use the mount key while it's Celestial Avatar. Doing so will automatically deactivate. Any remaining astral force is lost. I gotta say, Celestial Avatar needs a lot of things. This wasn't one of them. I'm so glad that Harbingers can go into Shroud with the bar at empty, though. That at least makes me happy. Moving on! Soul Beast fixed a bug in which swapping build templates could leave players merged with a pet not in their current build. Swapping between Soul Beast to build templates while merged with a pet will now unmerge your pet and then automatically remerge after the template swap completes. Okay. Fixed a bug in which swapping build templates could leave players merged with a pet even when they no longer have the Soul Beast specialization slotted. One Wolf Pack fixed a bug that caused damaging strikes from this skill to fail to occur on certain large bosses, such as the Koala. Beast mode on entering or exiting water. If players were previously merged with their pet, they will now automatically remerge. Oh, this is the bug I was talking about. Okay, cool. I mean, that's quality of life in World versus World if you Soul Beast in World versus World. Revenant. Renegade. Soul Cleave Summit. Energy upkeep cost has been reduced from 8 to 6. Okay. Shortbow 7-shot. I guess this is in all game modes. 7-shot. Torment duration per hit has been reduced from 7 to 6. Very small nerf there. Warrior Vengeance. Fixed a bug that could cause players to fail to fully rally when killing enemies in certain content types or locations. So lots and lots of skills that were proc on a kill were buggy, and I guess they fixed them. Alright. I'm eager to see what these changes do to Scourge. In PvE, I don't think they're going to change much, because if they're already running like Sandflare, for example. In PvP, they will... It's funny, because when I do my Scourge to like carry a Bone Skin or something, I don't even run Sandflare. I run Bloodwell to do like, those clutch 8-man revives, get the whole rate up, that kind of thing. But yeah, Scourge is pretty crazy right now. I'm eager to see if this has any effect on it. And... it's cool that they're, they notice that, like, quickness scrappers are pretty much never being taken because of quickness. Firebrands are just so much better than them, so eager to see if this, brings more of them into parties, and lots of other small tweaks. I'm really happy about the combo field thing. Being able to use your own combo fields and it not prioritizing the oldest field, including if the oldest field was somebody else's. This is going to, like, a thief that knows how to use this, their damage is going to go up. A healer that knows how to use this, their healing capabilities will go up. This is cool. I like this. And your finishers flashing when you're in a field, that is going to help new players. I like that too. Okay. So, those changes are kicking in on Tuesday, August 17th. Let's go over the new stuff. So, this was the very, very long video, and I'm going to try to condense this information. So first off, the Necromancer's new elite specialization, the Harbinger. When they go into Shroud, it does not protect their hit points. Instead, when they have Shroud at all, the Shroud will drain to fill their hit points slowly over time. So in combat, when they are not in Shroud, the Shroud is constantly draining to fill their hit points. So any skill you do that generates Shroud will effectively be giving you like a heal over time at the same time. Now, I'm going to tell you right now on the front end, this class is insane glass cannon. They make themselves squishier to do stupid amounts of damage. Just know that going into it. Now, right here is the next part of it. When you build Blight on yourself, which you can see counting up right now while he's in Shroud form, your maximum health is decreasing. You can see the current max health and how negative you are below it. So the longer you're in Shroud or the more Blight you have, the lower your maximum health becomes as a trade-off for the incredibly powerful skills you have. That, combined with the fact that Death Shroud is no longer a second hit point bar, you would think is going to make these things very squishy. And that's absolutely possible. In PvP, I think a Harbinger that is caught by surprise by a bursty assassin-type character may pop very quickly. But what are they getting in trade-off for this incredible, incredible glassiness? Additionally, you can see here when he's not in Shroud, the Blight is falling off and his max health is going back up. So here we can see Tainted Bolts. This is the Harbinger Shroud skill 1. Harbinger Shroud skill 1, it applies Torment and fires missiles at 900 range, and they do splash in a small radius. And that's them. Skill 2, Dark Barrage, fires 6 bolts of tormenting energy that fan out from you. It's basically a shotgun. And it does pretty good damage from both power and torment. It has 900 range, but the closer you are to them, the more bolts might hit your target. This is very similar to Ranger Axe 2 Split Blade or Ranger Shortbow 2 and other similar skills. And that is what that looks like there. And it is piercing through the enemies and applying torment to all hit, and this is what it looks like from range. Looking like a very, very deadly skill. Harbinger Shroud Skill 3, Devouring Cut. Channel twisting energy to launch yourself at your foe, tormenting nearby enemies. This is a movement skill. 900 range, 5-second cooldown. Launch in a direction, and apply torment when you land. That was the skill that during the trailer, they went flying toward the target with the elbow out, they kind of slid along the ground. And this is footage of that skill, followed by the 4. He did the 3 and then the 4. Alright, that's it with the elbow out. That is the 3 skill. Shroud skill 4 is Voracious Arc. This was the skill in the trailer where they leapt in the air and did a backflip while flying forward at the same time. You leap to your destination, evading through the air. You do get evade for a half second, 900 range, dazing the enemies at impact. 10-second cooldown on this. I see this being used in PvP if a bunch of people are trying to revive or stomp somebody, using this to try to daze the entire pile. And this is footage of him leaping toward an enemy with the Shroud Skill 4. Shroud Skill 5, Vital Draw. Twist the souls of nearby enemies, suspending them in the air while you siphon their life force. Gain life force for each foe struck. 20-second cooldown, does damage 4 times, is a 3-second long float. Major CC, a very small 240 range. So they're going to try to leap toward you and use this to CC you for 3 seconds. They also gain life force for each. Person they hit. And that is what it looks like in action. Moving on to the pistol skills. Vicious Shot fires a tormenting bullet that bounces between nearby foes. Number of bounces 2, and it's pretty powerful. So it'll hit the first target, then hit a second, then bounce back to the first. I'm a little bitter about this because Axe 1 on Ranger used to bounce to 2 targets, and they thought that was too powerful, and they took away the second bounce years ago. I don't know why it's suddenly back on this person. The second pistol skill is Weeping Shots. This one scares me. Pierce your enemies with series of corrosive bullets, inflicting torment and vulnerability. Gain life force for the first target hit by each bullet. This one is 6-second cooldown, does damage 6 times, vuln 6 times, torment 6 times, and you gain life force for each of the 6 bullets, and they all pierce by default 900 range. And that is footage of it in action. So that's it piercing through a stack of golems. You can see how powerful the dots are, and it's only a 6-second cooldown. It's Engineer Pistol 2 on crack. It is incredibly powerful. Harbinger Pistol 3 skill is Vile Blast. Fire a dart that shatters on impact, releasing noxious liquid that stuns, weakens, and poisons foes in the area. Gain life force for each target struck. 12-second cooldown. Minor poison, minor power damage, 6 seconds of weakness. You get some life force and a 1-second AoE stun. Another great way to interrupt a lot of people doing a stomp or a revive in PvP if they are not putting up a dome to block projectiles in this case. And that's what the skill looks like in action. Alright, the heal skill, Elixir of Promise. Now, they say they purposely made some of these skills quite strong, but in trade, they give Blight. Remember, Blight reduces your maximum hit points. So, this one is a small heal. It gives you Vigor for 5 seconds, 10% life force. So you drink this, you gain life force. And remember, if you need healing, your life force will drain to fill your hit point bar back up, and you get some stacks of Blight. The second elixir is Elixir of Risk. You gain Might, 10 stacks of Might, Fury, and some stacks of Blight. The third one is Elixir of Anguish. You gain Swiftness and Quickness and Blight. The next one is Elixir of Bliss. You gain Resolution and convert your conditions into life force, and you inflict Blight on yourself. And this converts 5 conditions into life force. You get 3% of your life force per condition. The last utility skill, which is the Stun Break, which he doesn't currently have on his bar, is Elixir of Ignorance. You gain resistance and you break stuns. You will inflict Blight on yourself, just like the others. So Stun Break, 5 seconds of resistance and some Blight, 25-second cooldown, 20 if you take the trait that reduces the cooldown on their Elixir skills. Now the Elite skill, which terrifies me, 60-second cooldown, 48 if you trait for it, gives you Blight, but also gives you every boon in the game. It gives you Aegis, Alacrity, Fury, 25 stacks of Might, Protection, Quickness, Regeneration, Resistance, Resolution, 5 stacks of Stability, Swiftness, and Vigor. You basically roid out. This is going to be very, very synergetic with another trait that we're going to see in a minute. Their second, the first passive, of course, is what makes them a Harbinger. The second one is they get 360 base vitality increase. The next one, they get 15% life force when they enter Shroud. That means they could enter their Shroud with 0 life force. And they'll jump to 15 and then start using that. So as long as it's off cooldown, they will always be able to enter Shroud if they want to. Wicked Corruption. Deal increased strike damage for each stack of Blight you have. So you get a bunch of Blight on you, maybe just over time, or by being in Shroud, or by just chugging elixirs, and you do more power damage with this trait. Septic Corruption. Increase condition damage for each stack of Blight you have, and your Shroud skill 2 will also inflict poison. And the last choice for the first row is Elixir skills gain reduced recharge. I feel like this is going to be very popular, and inflict vulnerability and slow on nearby enemies. On the second row, on the second column, implacable foe, I don't know. Gain stability when entering Harbinger Shroud, gain ferocity based on your vitality. This trait is unique per game mode. So getting 5 stab and some ferocity based on vitality. Dark Gunslinger, pistol skills gain 20% reduced recharge, and you gain expertise based on vitality. Twisted Medicine, elixir skills also grant their boons to nearby allies. This works on the ult. They can use this with the elite skill to give every boon in the game, including 5 stacks of stability and 25 stacks of might, to all nearby allies. They did show it on a friendly golem doing just that. I am currently wondering if you've got a couple of Harbingers with that skill and the reduced cooldown on elixirs, and they all just hit the ult key every time it comes up, how many Harbingers would it take to have a group, like a 5-man group? How many, like, I'm 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many, but they could get close to 100% boon uptime on every buff in the game. It has a 5-man limit. Yes, we're only talking about one group. Grandmaster traits. Cascading Corruption, damage and cripple nearby enemies. Your power is increased. While in Harbinger Shroud, you gain an aura. Every 3 seconds, you will pulse cripple and minor damage to nearby enemies. It's not a huge amount of damage. It's just kind of a constant, annoying pulse around you. In PvP, you know, it'll just keep applying that cripple repeatedly. This, the third Grandmaster option, he did not do these in order, is Approaching Doom. Your condition damage is increased while in Harbinger Shroud. You gain an aura which pulses each interval to torment and weaken nearby enemies. Again, every 3 seconds this will occur. The final one is Deathly Haste. While in Shroud, you give your party quickness. Every 3 seconds, you pulse quickness. And if you have got some concentration in your build, it is 100% uptime while in Shroud. And it's important to note that is while in Shroud. But again, I feel like there is some kind of insane support build that could be done here. Okay. So, skipping ahead like 20 minutes in the show, they replayed all of the Virtuoso videos that they have shown so far, and then, and I'm not going to do that because I did that in the last video, then they started talking about the passives, the trait line stuff. So first off, we've got Deadly Blades, which is the first passive. They inflict vulnerability on critical hits. The second passive that everyone will get is Quiet Intensity. Fury will give increased critical strike chance, another 10% for them, and they will gain ferocity based on vitality. In the first column, we've got Mental Focus. Strike damage is increased against foes within the range threshold. So if you're close to the enemy, you'll do more damage. I'm skipping like 30 seconds every time I do this. Jagged Mind is the next choice. Blade attacks have a chance to inflict bleeding on critical hits. 100% chance to inflict bleeding when you crit. That means if you run precision condition damage, you could run a condition damage Virtuoso. Now, this is a bit wild to me because if you're running the Curses trait line on a Necromancer, you get a 33% chance to inflict bleeding when you crit. 33! It's very similarly if you run the Sharpened Edges trait line on a Ranger. Virtuosos get 100. That's really high. So I'm very surprised by that. The third option in the first column is Blade Turn Refrain. Blade, your F1 through F5 grant Aegis. That's going to be the PvP choice, I think. Second column, Phantasmal Blade. Phantasms that successfully complete their attack will launch a blade at their target and grant you Fury when they expire. And they will do that from 1200 range. Sharpening Sorrow is the second option. You gain Fury when you activate Blade Song Sorrow. Fury will increase your expertise. The next option is Duelist Reversal. I'm pretty sure this is the option for PvP. Blocking or dodging, and as far as blocking, remember, they have 5 ways of getting Aegis. Blocking or dodging grants boons, 3 seconds of Fury and Quickness with a 3-second cooldown. Grandmaster traits. Riposting Blade, and if I said that wrong, I tried. Blocking or dodging an attack will stock a blade and shoot a blade at the attacker. So that means if you try to hit these guys when they have Aegis up, you are punished in multiple ways. The second option is Infinite Forge. Automatically stock blades while below the minimum blade count. Combat only, up to 3 of your 5 blades. So every 3 seconds you get a blade, maximum of 3 from this passive, only in combat. The final option for the Grandmaster tier is Bleeding you apply deals increased damage. Stock a blade after applying enough stacks of bleeding to a foe. So after you got 5 bleed stacks on an enemy, which is very easy if you got a 100% chance to apply a bleed on a crit, you will stock a blade, and it's a 25% damage increase on your bleed skills. After that, they showed all of the trailers we have seen so far for the Guardians New Elite Spec, the Willbender. CMC drank every one of the water bottles you see in front of you, and then they began to talk about the Willbender traits. Okay, the Willbender. Every one of their function keys is a gap closer. If you PvP and you fight Guardians, get scared, because they're thieves now. The F1, they rush toward the target and gain Justice, delivering a strike and emanating Willbender flames. Removes other virtue effects, so they charge forward, do damage, they inflict burning, get boons. The F2 is Flowing Resolve. You will remove conditions, and you rush forward and evade attacks as well. You will gain swiftness, you break out of Immobilize, Cripple, and Chill, and do a heal on yourself when you charge in. The final one is Crashing Courage. This one is a Shadow Step. So they can do this through walls, through certain terrain, as long as they've got a path, things like that. They will teleport a short distance while gaining boons, Aegis, stability, and swiftness, while emanating Willbender flames from your location and gain courage. The Sword 5 skill is Advancing Strike. You quickly dash toward your foe and Shadow Step to deliver a debilitating attack that first slows and then immobilizes your enemies. So they've got another Shadow Step here, and it is a slow and an immobilize when it hits the target, and it is a combo finisher. The 4 button, it hits really hard. You get in close, and you hit with one hand, then you hit with both hands. They showed it with swords. I feel like if you have a main hand scepter, you're going to bonk them, and it's going to be funny. But it's a close range, heavy damage button. The heal button, it's basic. It's very similar to AED. You guard for 1 second. If something hits you, they trigger a 4,200 heal. If nothing hits you, you are healed for 2,100 a second later. This will block lethal attacks if used at the right moment. It can hold 2 charges. So you are holding 2 charges of a smaller version of AED. The next skill is the first utility option, Flash Combo. It's another Shadow Step. If you've been keeping track, counting Sword Skill 2, they have 6 movement skills and 3 of them are Shadow Steps now. Shadow Step to your target, strike them multiple times. If all attacks hit, you gain access to Repose. Whirling Light. Lunge forward and perform a whirlwind kick, weakening and burning any nearby foes left in your wake. This one, you're spinning, and you're applying burning and weakness all around you. And this is what it looks like. Heal Crack. Physical. Perform a quick heal strike that stuns your target. This is a close range, 15-second cooldown, 2-second stun. Next up is Terrifying. Rolling Light. This is their stun break, and for some reason it's on a 15-second cooldown. You break, stun, and dodge backwards, blinding foes as you dodge backwards and gaining swiftness. So it's a stun break, an evade, a hit, and a blind. Then it swaps to a different skill called Quick Retribution. Now, Quick Retribution is you lunge back into the fight and unleash a disorienting strike, and you daze people for 3 seconds. So if you've ever played Ranger, this is like Sword 3, but it's 10 times better. The elite skill is Heaven's Palm. Reminds me of Lee Sin from League of Legends. You hit an enemy, you knock them down, and every other enemy nearby gets kicked away. So you get a little one-on-one time with the target of your choice. And that is what it looks like. Now the traits. Righteous Sprint. Gain increased movement speed, gain swiftness when you activate a virtue. 25% increased movement all the time. I'm not happy about that. Many builds struggle with getting, like they have to take a crucial trait, or they have to take Rune of the Traveler or something to get that movement speed, and they just get it baseline. That's incredible, honestly. The second one is Lethal Tempo. Whenever they use a virtue, or your virtue's passives are triggered, they gain 3% damage increase for 6 seconds. Now, Lethal Tempo is different from boons. When you gain another stack of Lethal Tempo, the whole stack refreshes. So you can get this up to max and then keep it at max stacks if you can keep the tempo up. It will cap out at 5 stacks, which is a 15% damage increase, but there is a trait that affects that later. First column, first trait is Boon Patch. You gain concentration, but boons you apply to other allies have a much reduced duration. I like this. This thing is incredibly powerful already. That's a trade-off. However, this thing's not giving many boons to allies. I would more like to see this on a firebrand or something, but this thing is not giving many boons to allies. I don't know that it's going to affect them much, to be honest. The second option is minus toughness plus power. Pretty straightforward. The third option is plus healing power, but minus healing to other people. So everything in the first column has some kind of trade-off. The second column, this thing is scary. When a virtue is active, activating another virtue reduces the initial virtue's cooldown time by its remaining duration. So that means if you really quickly do F1, F2, F1 is almost back up again. He showed this in the video, and remember, F1's a gap closer, F2's a gap closer, F3's a gap closer, Sword 2's a gap closer, Sword 5 is a gap closer, and the 7 skill in this video is a gap closer. And if you use all those, your F1 and F2 are probably back up again. So you're not getting away from these guys. The second option is Holy Reckoning. Inflict increased damage and heal... Willbender Flames, which are produced from your F1 through F3 abilities and various attacks, inflict increased damage and heal you when they hit an enemy. So 33% increased damage on the special fire damage that comes from this class, and they do minor lifesteal. Vanguard Tactics, activating Courage, grants protection and resolution. Shadow Stepping grants resistance. Holy muck. Okay, so they've got 3 Shadow Steps. So 3 of the 6 ways that they teleport in your face, and oh my wa no shindaru. If I wasn't in such a rush to get this video out, I would edit in the actual clip of that, but I'm not going to. Will grant them resistance the moment they appear in your face. So you're not going to be like immobilizing these guys and backing away or anything like that. Looking at the Grandmaster traits, Phoenix Protocol. Grant alacrity and regeneration to yourself when Resolve's effect triggers, but you no longer heal. Now, by default, Resolve gives them healing when they're swinging. This changes that to gives you alacrity and regen when you're swinging. Now, he then displayed this by beating on the target dummy and by auto-attacking, essentially. He had permanent regen and alac on himself. This is not for your group, but they could keep it up on themselves. Tyrant's Momentum. Lethal Tempo gains increased damage, but has reduced duration. Justice's duration is modified. Basically, it is going to be more difficult to keep up the Lethal Tempo stack, but if you do, it caps out at 25% increased damage instead of 15. And Deathless Courage. Killing a foe will extend the duration of Courage up to a maximum duration. You cannot be downed while Courage is active. You will stay at 1 hit point. You are unkillable while Courage is active. And I want to remind you that there was another trait that when you use your other function keys, you shorten the cooldown of the previous ones. So you could Courage, do something else really quickly, and then Courage again. It's going to be scary. These guys are going to be teleporting in your face 6 different ways, and they'll have resistance when they appear in your face, and they will be unkillable for periods of time. We're going to see during the beta test next week how that works out. So, that is the final of the Grandmaster traits. Now, all of the patch notes we went over, as well as these 3 new classes that you will be able to play, are available on Tuesday in all game modes up until, I believe, 3 days later. You can double check on that later on. If you have all your character slots full, don't worry. They're going to give you new character slots temporarily that you can use to create these new classes. Try them out if you wish to do so, and then those character slots will get nuked later. I don't know if the game will let you move any items over to those characters, but if it does, don't do that. Don't do that. So, that is everything. That is everything. Now, I did not show you every scrap of footage because I've got to get this editing done really quickly. I've got some other things I have to do today. However, I tried to condense a almost 90-minute presentation down as much as possible. And yeah, if you got any comments or thoughts, speculations, be sure to throw them in the comments down below. And one more thing. The End of Dragons website changed the other day. Now when you go here, you can see the Virtuoso, the Harbinger, and the Willbender. And because of this, the community is speculating at this point that these will be the order of the remaining releases. The Crystal with the Flame, what appears to be an Oni mask, what appears to be a Revenant icon with too many daggers, a bullet, some golem who doesn't skip upper body day, and a shield or an animal face of some kind. So this may be the release order of the next things to come out. We'll see. That's just speculation on our part. But that's it for now. I'm going to wrap this up, and if you've got any thoughts or anything to say on this, be sure to drop it in the comments down below. If you want to help us out with the YouTube algorithm, hit that like button and subscribe for more similar content, and I'll see you next time.